Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Baez, and this is going to be a special edition of you. I guess you can call it the count out, whatever you want, really. Now, the reason I'm doing it in this format really is because last week was the last week for WICR in the studio and for the semester because we're going to have new audio, new technology next semester. So last week was last week, but I wanted to continue to do the show, so I'm deciding to do it this way in podcast format. I have to talk a little quieter because I'm really close to the mic and it's a little more sensitive. So here we go. Now, first thing I'm going to discuss is the Monday Night Raw last week. So not yesterday, but Monday, the previous Monday. And this was the go home Raw before Survivor Series. And there were a lot of interesting segments. One of them. Oh man. Yeah, it's really a while ago. One thing that really struck me was the very last segment, which was the Divas segment between Charlotte and Paige. Now, I'm going to talk about that, of course. Now, it's rare. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it happen where two female competitors actually ended the show. Not because of a match, 'cause that's happened before, but it was a segment, it was a contract signing. Usually most contract signings tend to be really, really predictable. Someone goes to a table, someone will get attacked. And the promo at first was a little iffy. It was a little boring, but then it got really, really intense when Paige actually mentioned Charlotte's dead, passed away younger brother, and that really rubbed people the wrong way. And I feel like that was a lot of people feel like that was some cheap heat, but you know what? It's a way to garner heat in general. So I gotta adjust my seat there. But it was really one way to get interest into, I guess, what they like to say, the Divas. And then there was also the championship tournament that continued on Raw that night. You had Del Rio and it was Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto. Del Rio won. It was a pretty short match. That was actually the last match of the night. A little strange. Cesaro and Roman Reigns. Me being a Cesaro fan, of course I was rooting for him, but I already knew who was gonna win it. The whole universe, and that literally the WWE universe knew who was gonna win that. We also had Kevin Owens versus. Oh, it slipped my mind. Okay, I believe it was Kevin Owens against. Man. It's just completely out of my mind. I know that Dean Ambrose. Oh my goodness. Well, whatever. It was it was a championship tournament, and the people that advanced were Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. They're gonna face each other. They ended up facing each other at Survivor Series, and Roman would face What? Oh no, sorry. Yeah, Roman would end up facing Del Rio at Survivor Series, so that was that. But in general, the Raw was actually pretty good on Monday, leading up to Survivor Series. The one thing that I really didn't like in general was the build-up. While that Raw was good, it didn't make you hype for Survivor Series. That's one thing that I kind of criticize about the WWE. I know Seth Rollins getting injured kind of put them in a tough spot, but you have to do a little better than that. So now I'm going to talk about Survivor Series now. Survivor Series was in Atlanta, Georgia. The Raw was in Greenville, South Carolina. For the past couple weeks, they've been going to the South. So Raw was in Greenville, South Carolina, and Survivor Series was in Atlanta, Georgia. And here's the thing I don't understand: Survivor Series is supposed to be one of the big four pay-per-views. It's Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. It's supposed to be one big pay-per-view per season, meaning the weather seasons, whatever you want to call them. WrestleMania, the granddaddy of them all. That is supposed to be for springtime, late March, early April, usually around my birthday. This year, actually, next WrestleMania will actually be on my birthday, April 2nd. And then you have the summer pay-per-view, which is SummerSlam, biggest party of the summer. Survivor Series, that's the WWE's fall classic. And the Royal Rumble, which is in January, so that's the winter pay-per-view. That's supposed to be the second biggest and most important one. But it's those big four. Those pay-per-views have been around since the 80s, and they built up Survivor Series like one of the B-level pay-per-views like Fastlane or Payback or one of those stereotypical, one-named pay-per-views, whatever. That's what it felt like. And as I was watching it, that's what it really did feel like. None of the matches really stuck out. You know, they had a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match on the pre-show. They moved Tyler Breeze and Dolph Ziggler onto the regular show. And I guess that was a good move. But, you had the Dudley Boys and Goldust on that pre-show. And I feel like with so much they've done for the business, I feel like they shouldn't just be relegated to the pre-show. But, I guess there was really no need for him, I guess you could say. But it was great that Goldust came back. But still, the match had no meaning at all. All right, so now I'm going to discuss all the matches of Survivor Series. The first match was Roman Reigns and Alberto Del Rio. The match overall was just like most of the matches during the night were very meh. They're okay, average, mediocre. It's whatever. Roman Reigns ended up winning. No surprise, really. No surprise at all. And so he ended up advancing to the finals of the championship tournament. Okay, so then the second match after that was Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. I thought this match was the best match of the night. I feel like there were... At first, it was a tad bit slow paced, but then there were some really good spots, and the ending was excellent. With a pop-up powerbomb and into a Dean Ambrose's Dirty Deed. So I did really like that ending. So Dean Ambrose ended up winning that one. Now, one thing I don't like about the result... First of all, I don't like the fact that Owens and Del Rio are even in that far in the tournament. Simple reason being, they're champions already. Del Rio's a U.S. champion. Kevin Owens is the Intercontinental champion. What it seems like to me is that those championships are just props. Just something to step on to get to the real, championship, which is the WWE title. This is why, at this point, due to the fact that there's no brand split and the roster's not as big, I really do feel like that the United States Championship and Intercontinental Championship should just be unified. That's the best at this point. Because there's no need for both. So just unify them. They both have the same level of prestige. Well, the IC title is more prestige in WWE, but they're both mid-card titles. It's supposed to be given to younger guys who are on their way up. So I feel like they should just unify the titles and make it like the second most important title just to give it more importance. Because with the way they're handling Del Rio and Kevin Owens having those titles, they're just like toys. Like, hey, I just have it. I just have it just to have it. I really want the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So that's the issue I have with that. But, yeah, so the finals would end up being Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, two former Shield members, who are fighting over a title that their other Shield member, Seth Rollins, had. Funny how things go, right? Funny how things come full circle. But so that was the last match tonight. This was the best match tonight, which I gave personally 3.5 stars, which is telling you something. It's supposed to be Survivor Series, but it felt so average. Okay, so then we have third match. This was just a random mishmash of superstars, really. This was I think the only traditional Survivor Series match, 5-on-5 elimination. And it was the Lucha Dragons, the Usos, and Ryback against New Day, Sheamus, and King Barrett. The segment before the match started that involved New Day, Sheamus, and King Barrett was actually really funny. But it's the New Day, they're always funny pretty much. But the match itself was, I gave it 2 stars. I didn't care because there was no reason for those guys to even be on the team. They were just on a team just because they wanted to have people on the team. What ended up happening was New Day, when I believe Xavier Woods, was it? It might have been Xavier Woods. No, it was Big E. I think one of them got eliminated, and then the rest of the New Day just packed up and helped and just left. And then Lucha Dragons, Usos, and Ryback end up getting the win. And so I just felt like that match was completely useless. And the teams just seem thrown together just to have one. It's Survivor Series. We need to have a traditional Survivor Series match. Just get these guys and just throw them in. That's really what it felt like. So I didn't really like that. Okay, then the fourth match was Paige and Charlotte for the Divas Championship. I gave this 1.5 stars. I mean, the Divas Revolution, as we've seen, has failed. Because, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks make sporadic appearances, which is awful. The match was boring. Okay, there was none of the spots were interesting at all. And, from this match, you really expected more. Simply put, there was such a big build-up. They ended up having a last segment on Monday Night Raw. And, they left people thinking, wow, this is really going to be like some heated, intense rivalries. Like a really big match. And the match didn't deliver. It just flat out didn't deliver. And it was just boring and didn't feel like it was important at all. Maybe because it was the 4th out of 7 matches, really. So maybe that's why. You can't have the final segment of Raw be the fourth match of the pay-per-view out of 7 on the card. So it just doesn't make sense. So that match wasn't really all that good. Because I've seen really good Divas matches, women's matches, and that wasn't one of them. And I would expect better from both of them, so, that was a dud. Again, the 5th match, Tyler Breeze, Dolph Ziggler. It was a good match. Now, the issue I have with this one was this match was supposed to have more build-up in terms of story and rivalry, but it just didn't. However, the match itself was really good, so it wasn't a match that I'd say was match of the year, but it was a good match, so 3 stars I think is fair. It was a 3-star match. It was a good match. Nothing really blew me away. Nothing maybe jump out of my seat like, oh, that was so exciting. But, these guys put on a good match. So I give it 3 stars. If there was more build, it probably would have been a little better. Then we have the 6th match of the night, which was the match that was hyped up the most. The Brothers of Destruction, which is Kane and The Undertaker, going up against 2 members of the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. And The Undertaker and Kane actually won the match. Now, originally I was saying I think the Wyatt family should win because they've lost. Bray Wyatt has lost in so many feuds that he needs to get a win over Undertaker to solidify himself as a real force. But then I think about it. It's the 25th anniversary of Undertaker's debut at Survivor Series, and they had this whole big entrance for The Undertaker, bigger than normal. And I feel like with something like that, you can't have him lose. So I guess that was fair. But I saw this interesting meme actually on Facebook where it basically describes Bray Wyatt's career, where it's him and the Wyatt family. They would attack, explain his actions. It's a meme based off of what Paul Heyman would say about Brock Lesnar: eat, sleep, conquer, repeat. So what Wyatt would do is him and his family would attack, explain his actions, lose, feud, repeat. That's pretty much what he's done. He attacks someone. Him and his family attack someone. He explains his actions. They end up losing a feud, and he just repeats all over again. And that's what it's looking like here. He already lost to Undertaker at WrestleMania, and now Survivor Series lost to him again, except there were 2 more people that were added. One nice spot that I liked was Braun Strowman. He was built as this guy who was unstoppable. He can't be taken down. And both Kane and The Undertaker ended up putting him through a table. So that was the first time he's ever been on the ground or touched earth, really. So that was an interesting spot. But yeah, the match wasn't excellent. It was a good match. It's The Undertaker. It's always a good match. So it was 3.5. I'm not going to give it 4. That seems a little strong. Seems a little much. But yeah, I feel like 4 stars is enough. 3.5. So yeah, it was a decent. It was a good match. No real complaints here. And then you have the final match, which was Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I really hate saying WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That's so much. But the title's unified, so you have to call it that. And the match, what can you say? The match wasn't interesting, just flat out. I know Dean Ambrose can put on good matches, but I guess maybe Roman Reigns held him back a little bit because this match was not all that. It really wasn't. The ending, first of all, it just felt really quick and it just felt unfinished, and the match was actually not that long. Roman ended up winning with a spear, and, to the surprise of absolutely no one, he won the WWE title. And one thing I didn't like was, him and Dean just shook hands. I was waiting for a Dean Ambrose heel turn of some sort, but no, they still have to be, brothers and best friends. But, it is what it is. But there was a little swerve now. Triple H came out to congratulate him, shake his hand. Roman Reigns speared him. And then out came Sheamus. Bro kicked him square in the face. He was about to cash his Money in the Bank. He did. And then he tried to go for another bro kick, missed that first. And then he hit him with the second bro kick. And then he became WWE champion. So Roman Reigns was champion for a total of 5 minutes and 15 seconds, as we learned on Raw the next night. So he was champion for 5 minutes. And Sheamus is now the WWE champion. I know a lot of people aren't really huge fans of that. Me, I kind of am, but that's only because the only reason I really like Sheamus is I love the bro kick. And I also like his theme. But in general, his wrestling ability is just meh. He's not all that much better than Roman Reigns, honestly. But, it's something a little different. It's been a while since he's won a WWE championship, so there you go. Sheamus cashing his Money in the Bank. He's the WWE champion. Now I'm going to discuss the the next night on Monday Night Raw, which took place in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, it was an interesting Raw. Triple H came out, Sheamus came out. They had promo, typical typical Raw stuff. Oh, it was pretty good actually. That promo was surprisingly, like the beginning Raw promo was actually good, unlike most of the time. So there was that. It was what I found a little weird was Rusev actually came out and attacked Roman Reigns. He was aiding Sheamus. Found that a little odd because Rusev hasn't been on WWE TV for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And so he just basically came out of nowhere. Not an RKO. But, it basically just came out of nowhere, so it was a lot. And, after that, what ended up happening was there was a match between Roman Reigns and Rusev as the main event. There was also a match which is Paige and Charlotte, would have a rematch for the Divas Championship. And just to discuss that match real quick. Again, it finished in disqualification. Paige gave her submission maneuver, her finisher, the PTO, outside. I guess they were either both counted out or she was disqualified, whatever. So Charlotte's still champ. New Day had their little country music jamboree open challenge. The Lucha Dragons came out, and I'm actually surprised. I knew Kalisto's knew English, but I didn't know Sin Cara knew English, and it was actually kind of cool having Sin Cara switch between Spanish and English in this promo. So that was pretty cool. But and then the Usos ended up coming out. So at the end of the day, there was no actual match between the New Day, the tag team champs, and 2 other tag teams. So that was a little disappointing, honestly. But there you go. So overall, and Jack Swagger made an appearance. Del Rio was cutting a promo with Zeb Coulter, and Zeb Coulter was saying his whole thing about Mex America, and then Jack Swagger, who Zeb Coulter used to be the manager of, and would always spit the xenophobia stuff and the anti-immigrant, propaganda, I guess you'd call it. And then basically Jack Swagger's like, Jack Swagger basically misses that old Zeb Coulter, and it seems like there's going to be some sort of feud between Del Rio and Swagger, which is a little odd because Swagger hasn't been relevant since Zeb Coulter left. So, yeah. And then the Raw match between Reigns and Rusev, it wasn't great. I mean, it's Reigns and it's Roman Reigns. You don't expect it to be great. I mean, you expect it to be good. You don't expect it to be great, though. It's Roman Reigns. Let's be for real. And there wasn't much to say about it except the ending when King Barrett, whatever, came out and attacked Roman Reigns. So that was pretty interesting. So basically what it looks like to me is it's going to be like some European faction, Sheamus, King Barrett, and Rusev, from Bulgaria, Ireland, and England, United Kingdom. It seems like they're teaming up somehow, and it seems like a faction is formed. So that's what we have to discuss for today. I know it's pretty short, 17 minutes. But, I have to kind of compress this a little bit because I'm not in the radio studio. This is for podcasts, and I'm doing it in a podcast form. And so, hopefully, you guys can go listen, and this is unfortunately going to be the last broadcast of the semester. I'll be back in late January or early February, whenever we get back. So, talk some more wrestling. That's usually around Royal Rumble time, so there's going to be a lot to talk about there. So, I'd like to thank you all for listening. And that's the bottom line, because Rob Bias said so. Signing off.